Tonight's forecast is sponsored by Ashbrook Audiology, where relationships matter.
And welcome back to the program, everybody. You're probably wondering, what on earth is a photo of that? Well, I promised you we're going to be talking about iguanas. And for those of you who don't know, they are cold-blooded reptiles. And you've probably been hearing about this on social media here. He's okay. He's not dead. I promise you, he's all right. What's ended up happening, of course, the last several days, you've been probably seeing tweets and whatever else you follow on your national level of social media platforms. You know, he's just petrified or stunned in this case. And interestingly enough, this is from Florida. And they're, have recently, over the last few decades or so, have been pretty becoming populated in the Sunshine State down there. And so pretty much what ended up happening with, of course, with cold weather, anything with cold weather, especially when we get our first burst of cold weather here, you're like, whew, it's cold out there. And kind of what happens with these reptiles and the iguanas particularly. So once again, they're cold-blooded animals, and kind of we really learned this back in science class. So if you remember way back when you took science courses, or maybe your kids are talking about reptiles in classes, I don't know, maybe they are, maybe they're not, maybe the schools are watching. You're like, wow, thanks, Dustin, for teaching our students about this. So anyway, the more knowledge is power, right? But anywho, so what happens when the temperatures start to get below 50 degrees, they slow down, they become more like a sloth in a way, and they start really losing their momentum when the temperatures start to kind of get cold and not as, they're used to this warm weather. When they are cold-blooded, they got to have warmth to let their body temperature go on it. So what happens with that, when it gets below 45 and under, they start to, they lose their sense of movement, and then again, they start to hibernate. And then once the temperature reaches a certain point, they just fall out of the tree, and they just hang around. And some people, it kind of is interesting because Virginia, I don't believe, is known for iguanas, particularly in the southern part of the states around the tropical environments, more so outside of the country, around the U.S., outside of the U.S., I guess the way I'm trying to put that, is where they're more prone to. Typically, Florida is one of those states, and they have been overtaking the state for years to come now. And so it's pretty interesting to say. And of course, what happens once they're on the ground for more than 8 hours, they can kind of result into them being fatal. And so once the sun comes up right around the sunrise, once a little more of that heat gets on them, they kind of start moving again. I promise you, if you know someone, or if you've been in Florida before and you're wondering why in the world are iguanas falling from the tree, now kind of a science lecture here for those who are wondering why I told you I was going to be getting into this stuff. So tomorrow we're going to go back to snow photos because I like to mix it up here. Why not? Do a little bit of everything different, from your local biology class to atmospheric science, dynamics, and temperature fluctuation, many things as well. So that's some interesting statistics. I hope you learned something, by the way. Hey, happy February to you. It's been pretty nice so far today. It's glad to see that sunshine out there, and most things are slowly getting back to near normal or average. This is typically would be for an average daytime high. So we have done pretty well today, remaining near normal overall, and temperatures will slowly cool off quickly tonight. Partly cloudy skies, and then again, we'll have some clear skies overnight tonight. No rain is expected. Again, we'll update this average low for the month of February. That is our January average overnight low. So we're getting closer and closer to those warmer months as we're beginning to slowly get back to the warm weather. Something I also want to note, if you saw that earlier, the sunsets are getting later and every day. By the way, February, we gain an hour and about a minute for the month of daylight. So by the time we get towards the end of February, as you know, this is one of the shortest months, not considering it's not a leap year, so that doesn't make you linger on the day a lot more longer than it is. So shorter month of the year, gain an extra hour of daylight. And again, we're going to slowly get to some more seasonable temperatures. So by the end of the month, this is where we should be coming in for average high of 52. Right there as well. So we see a nice day to starting out, not as cold, more temperate as you do begin the day. Again, some areas may need a little bit of that frost, particularly if you are in the lower valleys. Something I want to make a quick note about, of course, parts of Patrick and Franklin County had a special weather statement this morning regarding freezing drizzle and the higher freezing fog, excuse me, basically meaning it's that air temperature gets below or right around freezing, and then again, moisture that kind of taps into that as a little extra layer. It's a very thin layer of moisture. You really can't really see it, but again, it kind of causes a little bit of a glaze on some things. So some areas tonight and particularly tomorrow morning, we may wake up to a little of that freezing drizzle. Nothing that's causing concern, but you may need that, particularly parts of Patrick County and northwestern Franklin County, where they're closer to that 221 Bent Mountain area. That's south of Roanoke County, out towards the border of Franklin County. So, but again, once we quickly warm up, we'll get up pretty nicely out there. Then, of course, the talk of the upcoming week is the big weather maker that is going to be creating a major significant ice storm from far as Kansas, Oklahoma, going up through the Illinois, Indiana area, down towards Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio. Possibly could see a significant winter event, more so of an icing concern than anything else. Winter storm warnings and watches stretch as far as South Texas, as far up towards the Ohio River Valley and the Northeast again, where they are still recovering from that massive snowstorm earlier in the week. And now it looks like they're going to be dealing with another round of that. And of course, right now, lots of eyes are up for this upcoming weekend of a possibility of some winter weather. Right now, data is still all over the place. Nothing's been set in stone just yet. So we'll keep an eye on that for the upcoming weekend and let you know what we'll be watching and monitoring very closely. We may have another round of this. And by the way, if this all comes true, this will be the fourth weekend in a row that we have forecasted winter weather since mid-January. So those who wanted winter precipitation, you've done enough snow dancing, I would say, to our spring lovers, which, by the way, I think we're roughly about 56 or 7 days away from the start of the spring equinox. So bear with us. Enjoy 52 tomorrow. Of course, that rain moves in later overnight. Do stick around with us. We're going to have more great local programming coming up. We're going to turn things over to Chad Hall here in just a few minutes as we continue on the broadcast.
Your BTW21 weather forecast is sponsored by Zentmeyer Chiropractic.